many Canadians were concerned about the safety. Where is my passport number going to go? Where, if I to generate this QR code, I'm really uploading a lot of personal information: my health card, my date of birth, my name, my passport number. That's a lot of information. My date of travel, point of entry. How can we ever know that this is really secure?
See, yeah, it's tough from an actual consumer or a user standpoint to know whether the data is being handled accordingly. The main thing here is you, like as a user, you have to trust that the actual app is secure and built in the way that none of this data will be leaked, or none of this data, if they were leaked, will actually share the information and making sure everything is encrypted. It's very hard as a consumer to know the truth. The only people that would kind of know the truth are the actual implementers of the app. So that tends to be like the government themselves and the developers behind the system and the architects behind the system. Um, you can do things um, like there's different tests that you can do as a developer to make sure that your endpoints are secure.
Hmm.
But that's kind of all behind the scenes. So you're going to have to like kind of trust them a little bit.
Okay. Well, I suppose there are many Canadians who use banking apps, for example, but we have heard that there have been some hacks and hacking of information. When we hear of a company that's had its app hacked, that's had its information hacked, doesn't it make it? Well, it makes me as a user a little bit more hesitant, a little more skittish to use an app. How confident should we be as Canadians with our, information security and privacy mainframe we have here?
Yeah, I think as time progresses, it's easier to be um, more trusting that your data is going to be handled securely, right? Like, you know, I think there's something to be said about learning from mistakes that happened in the past. So all of those data leaks that happened in the past are well documented. The actual, let's say, providers that maybe were a part of that data leak learn from those mistakes. They make their systems more secure. Those could be cloud providers. Those could be actual developers or engineers themselves. And so over time, it just gets harder and harder for like data to be leaked over time. So the trust level kind of increases. And I think that, that's why even things like crypto and stuff like that is being built, because of all of this sort of centralization that occurs and the trust that you need to have on a specific central party. And if you can kind of control your own data or control how it's used across the whole ecosystem and control who gets access to it, who doesn't, who can see what, that's like a really interesting thing that's developing over time. So it's very hard to say. It's either you trust the technology and the people that are building the app, and you choose to trust them oftentimes by opting into using their app in the first place.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be a little bit in trouble.
Well, and I think that's a very good point. The ArriveCan app, the not your clone, but the government manufactured provided one, had a very thorough terms and conditions to which many
Mhm.
Canadians objected and didn't want to engage with that app to begin with. The potential sharing of information with foreign governments and foreign entities like World Economic Forum, things like that, really took Canadians aback. And some Canadians refused to consent to those terms, and as a result, they might have been grounded in Canada, not able to leave because how would one re-enter? There were obviously massive, hefty fines. Is it common in your experience in app creation? And I don't know if you've had clients, and I know you can't necessarily divulge them, who are governments, but is it normal for governments to collect that data, then to share it with foreign agencies and foreign governments?
I have no idea actually. We've never had a government client. I would say, yeah, we've never had a government client directly. So um, I have no idea, to be
Now,
honest.
no problem. And now, one thing that just I recall that the ArriveCan app was touted as being the most popular app in Canada at one point because at some point during the app process, apparently it directed you to rate the app, and it was getting such high ratings.
Mhm.
Did this surprise you? Did you know about this?
Uh, I actually knew that the app had really really high ratings. Um, Obviously, I don't know why, like if that's true or if that's not, or how many ratings that is. I never looked at the things, but like to be honest, the actual UI of the app, um, it's pretty clean. Like it's very easy to kind of use because it's so simple on its own. It only like there's only one thing that it tries to help you do, which is basically generate that QR code so you can
Right.
like travel across the border. And because it's so simple, There's less prone to error on the
Right.
actual UI. The design is very clean. It's very simple. And, if you kind of catch the people at a right point and ask them to leave a review in a good moment, they're likely to leave a better review anyway. So
Okay.
um,
We've
I'm
got
not
to
surprised,
cut
but
to commercial break, but we'll pick this up in just a moment.